Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to our Freelance Friday, where we talk about all things freelancing, especially for those that are 50 and above, and certainly the baby boomer component of all that. And we'd also like to welcome our live listeners that check in every Friday live, but then we also have quite a number of folks that listen to the playback, which is very important. When we like to welcome you as well. You're a very important part of this, and we continue to monitor questions in the chat window, and happy to answer any questions you might have along the way. And so today we're going to talk about the 5 gifts that freelancing has given us over the last year. And usually this time of year we reflect and kind of look back over the things that happened and the news stories and all the things that give us perspective on what the year's been like and how things have changed. And in my mind, just the last 5 to 10 years have been amazing growth and understanding and use of freelancing. And but the last 2 years and 9 or 10 months, whatever it is, have also been stunning in many respects, because many more people were exposed to remote work than ever before. And so in talking about these gifts, the remote work really shifted the whole world of freelancing, because so many organizations didn't think they could have people working for them unless they were under their roof and they had managers and supervisors and that kind of thing going on. And not sure who this is coming in from, but happy holidays to you as well. And yes, I love to do these live sessions over the holidays, because it gives us all time to reflect and to share and participate in that. And for those of you that are members of our programs, you know that our Tuesday night calls also go on through this period, but they're a little bit different. They're more sort of Q&A type sessions, and more along the lines of Ask Me Anything, about living abroad or traveling or freelancing or whatever it might be. So happy to do that and really enjoy that time that we spend together. So I wanted to go through these gifts. I have a list of 5 of these things that I think really were the gifts of freelancing for this last 12 months. And the first one is the acceptance of freelancing. There were kind of 2 steps here. The first step was the accepting of remote work, and things were chaotic when everybody all of a sudden had to work from home beginning about the middle of March in 2020. But over time, people settled in once they saw that this was going to be a thing for a while, and developed lots of innovative ways of making that work. And so remote workers, many of them opted to go into freelancing. And companies also lost some employees for a variety of reasons. Mostly they might have moved out of the area where they worked, or they changed career, or they were taking care of somebody during the pandemic, or whatever it might be. But just that whole dynamic has changed, where businesses, nonprofits, government organizations recognized that they could get work done remotely. And the second thing that happened this year is that we had, and I guess it really started at the end of last year, was the Great Resignation. And this is where people, came back to work, and after 2 or 3 years of being at home, said, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't like a boss breathing down my neck. I don't like all the wasteful meetings that I have to attend. I don't like the office gossip necessarily. I don't like my commute. And especially, I don't like my high-priced gasoline and having to pay a lot more to commute than I may have done in years past. So there were just lots of reasons that people and organizations really prefer, to hire freelancers, because they can fill in where they have gaps in things they need done. They don't have to bring on an employee that might be brought in for a certain skill, but then they have to train them in other things. So this is the acceptance of organizations of freelancing has exploded. It's bigger than it's ever been before. And there is a new survey out. It's one that these organizations do annually. It's from the Freelancers Union, and what they're talking about in there is that there was more growth in freelancing this year in the United States, but you can kind of project that to around the world, for people doing freelancing than ever before. It's the largest year-over-year growth in 8 years. So, something's going on when you see 8 times the growth in freelancing. The next gift that was pretty amazing to me is the emergence of planning and collaboration tools. And this has really brought a level of discipline and organization to projects that people are working on that didn't exist. When you're sitting in an office and you can just walk down the hall and talk to somebody and say, how's this going? How's that going? And get an immediate answer. You don't have the need to plan as carefully and organize things as carefully. And really, this is all about organization. And so the planning and collaboration tools, as their use, their adoption of their use, and I'm talking specifically about things like Trello, Trello, and another system called Asana. These are very powerful tools that help companies and organizations manage their projects around the world. And it's just been quite the revolution in organizing. And that's one of the huge benefits that has come out of this. Some of these tools have been available for 5 or 10 years, but they really came into wide use, and their feature sets really expanded over the last 2 or 3 years to make them much more useful for what I would call the common person. You didn't have to be an engineer or a software programmer to know how to do them. They're just wonderful tools. And that, having those planning and collaboration tools, and one of the things those tools do is they let you see out into the future and see where things are going to conflict, or part of your schedule needs to be moved up and part of it can be moved back, that kind of thing. Because we're not together in buildings anymore, or a big part of the population, there's less of this rush and sort of hectic update me, let me know what's going on, because now within these collaboration tools, the person that has that question can look within the tool, and if it's set up and being used properly, they can see right where that project is, how far along it is, anticipate, again, other potential bottlenecks, potential failure of one kind of another coming down the road because of one thing or another. So it really gives you that ability to anticipate things, which, sort of drains the swamp on 2 fronts. There's less rush in the system. There's less doing something the wrong way and then having to go back and redoing it the right way. And so when you plan something out using these tools, and you have to kind of use these tools when you're working remotely, because you don't have the luxury of being able to drag everybody in the conference room and put something up on the whiteboard or that kind of thing. There's just less rush in the system. There's also less rush in the system because people that are freelancing and working remotely, they're not commuting. They don't have a special wardrobe. They don't have an extra car. They don't have to, balance dropping the kids off at school versus when do I get to work and that kind of thing. So that's been a real benefit I've seen over the last year. We work with freelancers around the world, and people seem to work best in most cases when they have clarity on their assignments, clarity on their deadlines, and are given the time to work on those rather than being interrupted every few hours by an email to say, how's that project coming, or that kind of thing. Most people, unless they've studied the literature on this, don't realize how disruptive interruptions are to somebody's productivity during the day. And I just read an article on this that said that if you're interrupted doing something, that it takes typically 8 to 30 minutes to get your head back into what you were working on and begin doing productive work again. And a group of us were talking about that just yesterday, is that if you're thinking about your CRM system, your customer relationship management, and we have one, and you have to configure it, and you have to think about how the data is organized and how you're going to use it and that kind of thing. And it can take you 20 or 30 minutes just to get your head wrapped around, the workspace and understand, okay, here's what we're trying to fix. And then if you get interrupted at that point, you kind of have to bring your brain and your process all the way through that again. So it's pretty time consuming. So a lot less rush and a lot less interruptions, which are destructive in ways that most people think, oh, I'm just popping my head in the door. No, you're not. You're killing that person's productivity for the next 30 minutes. And, that people are having more and more awareness of that, because when you do work remotely, you do initially see a lot more, think time where you can focus on a single problem and that kind of thing. Of course, that implies that you're not, checking your email 100 times a day and that kind of thing, which can happen, or you turn off the notifications on your phone so you're not being notified every time somebody says, hey, a group of us are going to the movies this weekend. Do you want to go? That's the kind of thing that can usually wait 30 minutes or an hour until you're finished with your deep focus time and do something with that. And clearly, in my mind, the number one reason or benefit that has come from this year is that there's more time, the gift of freelancing, more time to pursue what you want to do rather than what you have to do. And this is simply by virtue of the fact that you're not under the thumb of a manager in a building or the big boss or whoever it might be. Setting your own schedule gives you the opportunity to be at your most productive when you want to be at your most productive. And this is a new concept for many that came along with first remote work and then with the idea of freelancing. By some estimation, there's 40 million people that have left the workforce and gone into freelancing. So that's a huge, change in attitude and focus. And if you go into restaurants or hotels, you may have noticed that, there's not the number of people there that there were there before the pandemic. But the great news is for people that have the skills to work remotely And this is generally in the area of what we would call knowledge work. If you're a white collar worker, you're a knowledge worker, you go to an office, you send emails, you might do some work with spreadsheets, you talk to clients, you implement projects. Those are all the kinds of skill sets that are giving a large part of those that are 50 plus, and especially the baby boomer crowd, the opportunity to have that freedom that they didn't have before, and that day in, day out, going to a job. I remember people would get a pin once at an annual presentation or something for not taking a sick day in 3 years. I mean, it's phenomenal, some of the twists and turns you had to make to meet that kind of record. And certainly the expectation as an employee, if you miss too many days and it's not a big number, you're out of it. But when you can manage your own time and put your own workforce together and piece all that into what works for you, that is a real gift. And 60 million adult Americans in the workforce freelanced in the last year. And that's an amazing number, crossed the $60 million person threshold for people doing side gigs. So this is a trend that will continue. I talk to people that say, I'm working now, I don't know if I should do this yet or whatever. And I suggest people get started right away, because you want a plan B. We're certainly living in difficult times with the economy right now, and having this as an adjunct to your income, or God forbid if the company you work for or consolidates their business into a different town or something like that, you want to have an action plan that you can, around your income, that you can put together right away. And of course, a lot of our members have reached that retirement age. They don't need to make a lot of money. Many of them had six-figure careers in their careers, but they will tell you those were 70, 80, 90-hour-a-week jobs in some cases. Now they want to work about 25% of the time and make a little money to offset expenses and maybe do some travel. But the idea of staying engaged, keeping your mind interacting with people, having relationships with people, doing things for them as a freelancer that advances their business and for which they're thankful. So those are the kind of things that certainly make the track beyond age 50 a lot more fun and enjoyable, and would encourage you for that. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today, and happy holidays to everybody live and everybody also listening to the playback. And if you've got any questions or thoughts or comments, we'd be happy to see those in the chat area. And I look forward to seeing you next week at this time. So we'll head out and have a good week and great celebrations. Take care.